Let me start with the obvious. I was supposed to be on that plane. For months, my parents had been hyping up this big graduation family trip to Europe, Rome, Barcelona, Paris, the works. We were going to eat pasta in alley cafes, cruise the Seine, and finally get to see the Colosseum in person after binge-watching all those travel vlogs. Except, a week before the trip, I came down with some freak mono-like illness. It wasn't even mono, just something viral, the doctor said, but my fever was high. I couldn't stand without getting dizzy, and my throat felt like I'd swallowed a cactus. My mom and dad didn't hesitate. "You need to rest," my mom said, looking half guilty and half relieved. "We'll take Jake instead. It'll give him some time before his internship starts." Jake, my older brother, the golden child, the one who once backed the car into the garage door and got praised for owning up to it. So yeah, I stayed behind, wrapped in a blanket burrito on the couch, while they sent me selfies from Cinque Terre and croissant pics from Paris. Then the call came on day 6 of their trip. It was a weird number. French, I assumed. But when I picked up, it was an American-accented woman who introduced herself as Agent Delaney from the U.S. consulate in Marseille. "Is this the sibling of Jake Holloway?" she asked. My throat clenched. Yeah. I'm sorry, but your mother, Patricia Holloway, has been detained by local authorities. We're still gathering details, but we believe it may involve theft, possibly identity fraud. Your father and brother are currently at the consulate." I couldn't process what I was hearing. Theft? Identity fraud? My mom? I mean, she gets huffy with baristas if they spell her name wrong, but she's a retired librarian for God's sake. Her idea of rebellion is bringing in Tupperware for leftover buffet food. So what the hell happened? I called my dad, who didn't pick up. Then Jake, who answered on the second ring and sounded weird. Not scared exactly. Just shaken. "Dude," he said, "I don't even know how to explain this. She's not who we thought she was." "What does that mean?" "She had 2 passports. One in her real name, and one in some other name, Janine Morris or something. And there's, like, weird money stuff. Offshore accounts. Swiss. We're meeting with someone from Interpol tomorrow." I thought he was joking, or being dramatic, but he wasn't. He was dead serious. The last thing he said before hanging up? "Do not let anyone into the house. And don't touch Mom's laptop." I sat there in the living room, staring at her laptop on the dining table. That dusty silver Dell she always kept with her. The one she took on book club weekends that, now that I thought about it, never seemed to involve any actual book talk. Then I remembered something. A month ago, she told me I could borrow her charger while she was out. The laptop was open, and I saw a message pop up on screen before it disappeared. Something about incoming wire confirmation and a weird amount, 42,300 euros. And the message wasn't from a bank, but a person named Emil, with a .ru email address. At the time, I thought it was spam. Now I wasn't so sure. I should have just closed the lid and walked away. But of course, I didn't. I clicked. And what I found next made me question whether my mom had ever been just a librarian, or if she'd been someone else entirely for the past 20 years. So yeah, I clicked. Her laptop didn't have a password. At first, it was just her usual cluttered desktop, Word docs labeled Book Club List 2024, and a folder of recipes called Quiche Variations. But then I noticed a folder buried 3 layers deep, hidden under something called tax_receipts_2012. Inside that was another folder called ebook backups, and inside that, a password-protected zip file labeled Janine_Morris_assets. My stomach sank. I tried the obvious. Holloway, password 123, librarian. No luck. Then I tried my dog's name. Then Jake's birthday. Then my own. Still nothing. I don't know what made me try this, but I typed in 1976 Barcelona, a story Mom used to tell about her first solo trip. When she was 19 and got her purse stolen by a pickpocket named Diego who she claimed later proposed to her over tapas. It sounded fake even then. But the password worked. The folder cracked open like a piñata full of secrets. There were scanned IDs, driver's licenses, passports, at least 3 with her photo but under different names. Janine Morris. Teresa Levine. And one, get this, with no name at all. Just her face and a barcode. There were PDFs of wire transfers, notes and what looked like code, and emails from names I didn't recognize. One thread caught my eye. Emil, are you? Bank shift. I opened it. Janine. Marseille window is open. Final transfer expected by May 20th. Surveillance on Leclerc confirmed. E out. Leclerc? As in the French supermarket chain? Or something else? I texted Jake. Me. Bro, you're gonna think I'm insane. I just found at least 3 fake passports in mom's laptop and some email about a Marseille window and someone named Emile. WTF is going on? Jake. We know. Dad's freaking out. They won't tell us everything, but said mom was flagged by Interpol weeks ago. Her arrest was prepped in advance. She tried to use a fake ID at the hotel. They found a safe in her room. Cash. Like stacks. He followed up with a voice message because he didn't want it in writing. I still have it saved. She was carrying a burner phone. When the cops searched her stuff, there was a second phone in a tampon box. No joke. She had some encrypted app that, when opened, wiped itself immediately. They only caught a glimpse of the name Ravello. Sound familiar? Ravello? I froze. I knew that name. It was the Wi-Fi name at my aunt's beach house. The one we'd gone to for one summer when I was a kid, after a long, strange vacation with mom in Italy that dad didn't come on. I remembered her always going out for walks during those weeks and being obsessed with the internet connection. I asked Jake if dad knew anything about this. Jake, he's white as a ghost, said he always knew something was off. Mom kept 2 bank accounts, paid for her own flights with cash. Every time she went on those conferences, turns out they didn't exist. She was disappearing off the grid. I sat back on the couch, sweating. My sick at home week had just turned into a damn espionage thriller. And then there was a knock at the door. 3 short raps. Pause. 2 more. That knock didn't feel random. I checked through the peephole. There was a man standing outside. Late 40s. Salt and pepper beard. Wearing a beige jacket and holding a clipboard. But no badge. No delivery uniform. No smile. He wasn't from Amazon. Or FedEx. Or the neighbors. He looked up suddenly and stared right into the peephole. I jerked back. Then he slid something under the door. It was a photo. Of me. Taken this week. On the front porch. With a timestamp. I scrambled back and locked the deadbolt, breathing hard. The photo had one word scribbled on the back. Careful. What the hell did my mom get us into? I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the hallway with a kitchen knife, staring at the photo someone had slid under my front door. Me, standing on the porch, timestamped 2 days earlier. The word careful scrawled in all caps on the back like it was a damn ransom note. My phone was blowing up with updates from Jake. The consulate had called again. My dad had been questioned by French authorities about an account in Luxembourg tied to my mom's name, or rather, one of her names. Janine Morris. Apparently, that account had over 200,000 euros in it, deposited in chunks over the last 18 months. Here's the kicker. Dad said he never knew anything about it. But I'm not sure I believe him. Because if you lived with someone for 25 years and didn't notice they were casually laundering 6 figures through shell companies, you're either blind or in on it. I asked Jake straight up if he thought Dad was involved. He just texted back one thing. He knew about Ravello. I didn't get to ask what that meant because right after that, the power went out. Just gone. No flicker. No storm. No warning. Full blackout. Now, I don't live in some old creaky mansion. This is suburbia. Street lamps, neighbors' Christmas lights, still up in May, porch cameras. But when I looked out the window, every house around me was lit up. Just mine was dark. That's when I heard it. The creak of the back door. Not the front. The back. The one I forgot to lock earlier because I was so focused on the mystery guy at the front door. I grabbed my phone and turned on the flashlight. My hands were shaking. The hallway looked 10 miles long. I tiptoed toward the kitchen, knife still in hand, flashlight beam bouncing like I was in a found footage horror movie. I whispered, "Who's there?" Like that ever works. No answer. I turned the corner and nearly screamed. Standing in the kitchen was my Aunt Carol. Disheveled. Red eyes. Wearing a raincoat, even though it hadn't rained in 3 days. Aunt Carol? How did you even? She held up a key. My mom's spare. She told me to come if anything went wrong, she said, out of breath. And something's very, very wrong. This is the part where I realized everything I knew about my family was basically a lie. Aunt Carol wasn't just my mom's older sister. She was her handler. That's what she called it. Handler. Like in the CIA. Apparently, my mom was part of some freelance intel network in the 90s that technically wasn't sanctioned by any government, but did quiet work for multiple agencies. Mostly information brokering, low-grade infiltration, and financial tracking. Nothing violent, she said, but always dangerous. Mom had tried to leave that life behind after meeting my dad. She thought going full step forward with a library job and PTA meetings would buy her peace. But she'd never truly disconnected. Carol said Mom kept a dead drop in a storage unit under her fake name in Delaware. Just in case. What do you mean, just in case? I asked, already spiraling. Carol handed me a flash drive. This is the real reason she went to Europe. It contained a dossier labeled Operation Leclerc, Internal Asset Recovery. From what I could piece together, Mom was on a mission, yes, a mission to intercept a high-level asset posing as a diplomat in Paris. The guy, Leclerc, wasn't just an alias. He was tied to a private intelligence firm that allegedly funneled data to hostile foreign interests, including a Russian crypto laundering ring. Her goal? Track the money trail, expose Leclerc, retrieve sensitive files, and hand them off to a contact in Geneva. But somewhere along the way, something or someone blew her cover. Aunt Carol's theory? Jake. Apparently, Jake had been talking to someone on a networking app for new finance grads. A guy who went by E. Martin. The same guy who'd emailed Mom using the name Emil. Jake had unknowingly disclosed enough personal info to help Emil trace Mom's real identity. That's why she was caught. Not because she slipped, but because her own son had been honey-potted by an online recruiter. When I confronted Jake about it, he freaked out. I didn't know. He said he was with the IMF. He wanted to help me get into global asset management. So yeah, Jake got Mom arrested by bragging about her in a job application. But the story doesn't end there. Because Carol said something else. Something that's kept me up every night since. Your mom knew they were closing in. That's why she sent you those emails. What emails? She looked at me like I was stupid. The ones in your junk folder. From the burner account. I opened my laptop, trembling. Sure enough, buried in the spam, were 4 messages from someone named pattybooks92@protonmail.com. Each one had the subject line, if anything happens to me. I clicked the first. And right there, plain as day, were names, dates, bank numbers, and one simple sentence. If you get this, do not trust your father. I must have read that sentence, do not trust your father, about 30 times before I could move. My heart didn't just sink, it straight up plummeted into a void I didn't know existed. I always thought my dad was the boring one. Like, aggressively boring. Tucked in polo shirts on Saturdays boring. The kind of guy who double-checks weather apps and keeps Costco receipts from 2016 in a labeled folder. But now I was looking at a burner email from my mother, the woman who apparently faked identities like it was a part-time job, warning me not to trust him. The second email was timestamped 2 days before her arrest. If you're reading this, it means I couldn't stop him. He knows I know. Jake might be safe with you if he hasn't figured it out yet. Don't give him the drive. Don't go to the Geneva address unless you're followed. If you are, burn everything. What the hell was she talking about? I turned to Aunt Carol, who was watching me like a hawk from across the kitchen island. Do you know what she meant? About Dad. Carol pressed her lips together and exhaled slowly. We suspected years ago, but she could never prove it. Your father may have been working both sides. Both sides. Apparently, while Mom was doing quiet work for Western intel agencies in the early 2000s, my dad, Mr. Banana Republic loyalty points and dry sarcasm, had a second life of his own. There were traces of him popping up in old financial records linked to shell companies in Cyprus, flagged accounts in Dubai, even a conference in Prague he never told us about. But the scariest part? She thought he was feeding her movements to Emil. Not from some ideological stance. Just money. Greed. Which meant Mom's arrest might not have been bad luck. It might have been betrayal. Carol told me we had to leave immediately. There was a safe house she could take me to upstate. I didn't ask how she had a safe house. At that point, I'd stopped questioning what kind of family I was actually born into. But as we were packing, Jake FaceTimed me. I almost didn't answer. But his face was pale and wild-eyed, and something in me knew this wasn't going to be a normal call. He was whispering, hunched in a stairwell somewhere in France. I snuck out. Dad doesn't know I have Wi-Fi. What are you talking about? Where are you? The hotel. But listen to me, okay? Dad said something. He said Mom wasn't arrested, she surrendered. What? He said she gave herself up to protect us. Like, she made a deal. That's when the audio glitched. The screen went dark. Static. Then frozen image. And then it dropped. Gone. I texted him. Called back. Nothing. 10 minutes later, I got an email. No subject line. No body. Just one attachment. A still frame from a CCTV camera in what looked like a parking garage. Jake, standing next to Dad, both of them getting into a sleek black car. Except, the license plate was Geneva-based. And the car? It wasn't listed on the hotel's valet records. Carol stared at the photo and said 2 words that chilled me to the bone. He's cashing out. What followed next is still a blur. Carol shoved me in the car, laptop and flash drive clutched in my bag. She drove like a bat out of hell, winding through back roads, switching cars at one point. Yes, she had a backup car stashed in a storage unit. Don't ask. Until we ended up in a cabin somewhere deep in the Catskills. The cabin had no cell signal, no Wi-Fi. A landline from the 90s that Carol said only rang out, never in. That night, I finally opened the 3rd email from Mom. It included one address. Rue de Bossons, Geneva. A storage facility. And one final sentence. Inside Locker 41 is the rest of the story. If I don't come back for it, it's yours. But trust no one. And here's the part that really screwed with my head. The email had a postscript. Burn this message after reading. Which would have been fine if it hadn't disappeared from my inbox the moment I clicked back. Gone. No trace. No recovery. Carol said she's using ghost mail. Old school espionage tech. It's all timed and encrypted. She set this up months ago. Then, just as I was starting to piece things together, the landline rang. Carol went pale. It's not supposed to do that, she whispered. I picked it up, heart thudding. There was only one word on the other end, in a deep voice I didn't recognize. Run. I dropped the phone like it had burned me. It clattered to the floor, still humming with that weird static hum that landlines aren't supposed to make anymore. Carol didn't even ask what they said, she just launched into action. We have 10 minutes, she muttered, already yanking open the floorboards under the rug. A duffel bag was stashed inside. Not clothes, not survival gear, documents, burner phones, cash. 2 different passports. One of them had my face on it. You're kidding, I whispered, backing up. You had a fake passport made for me? Carol zipped the bag shut. You're a Holloway. Of course we did. We left the cabin through a path that I swear hadn't existed when we came in. A mile through woods, mud soaking my shoes, adrenaline kicking up so hard my fingers went numb. Somewhere behind us, I swear I heard an engine. We reached a car parked in a ditch covered in a tarp and brushed Carol's 3rd car. By now I was convinced she was either Batman or Jason Bourne's long-lost sister. We drove straight to a private airstrip. Yes, I'm serious. A small, quiet place with a hangar and a single prop plane waiting. She'd already made arrangements. Friend owed your mother a favor, she said. The plane was headed for Zurich. From there, Geneva. The address Mom gave. But just before we boarded, I got one final email from Jake. Subject: You were right. Body: I'm sorry. I think I helped him get to her. He knew too much. He used me. I thought he just wanted to help me with jobs, but he was using everything I told him. Dad isn't coming home. Neither is Mom. You're the last one standing. Be careful who you trust. Jay. My hands shook as I read it. I showed it to Carol. She didn't flinch. Just whispered, We're too late. When we landed in Zurich, she made a call. Her contact said Locker 41 had been cleared out that morning by someone using the access code listed in Mom's ghost mail. But not Mom. There was surveillance footage. A man in a dark coat. Clean-shaven. Confident. My dad. He'd gotten there first. But that wasn't the worst part. According to the timestamp on the video, he wasn't alone. Mom was with him. And not in handcuffs. They walked out together. No struggle. No hesitation. I stared at the footage, unable to breathe. She was arrested. Carol looked at me, her face unreadable. Was she? I wanted to scream. Wanted to throw something. But all I could do was sit down on the cold concrete floor of that Geneva security office and stare at the blurry image of the 2 people I thought I knew, walking off like ghosts with everything. Carol made more calls. The money from Luxembourg had vanished. All accounts closed. Their house, my house, sold in cash through a proxy company. The deed transferred 2 days ago. Everything was gone. My brother's last message before he vanished again? I don't know where they are. But if they ever come back, don't let them near you. So now, I'm living under a new name. Carol said she could buy me 6 months before anyone catches wind of what I know. I still have the flash drive. I still have the passport. But I don't know what was in that locker. I don't know what my parents are really after. Or what game they were playing from the beginning. All I know is this. They took my brother on vacation instead of me. And somehow, that decision saved my life. The question I keep asking myself every night in this unfamiliar apartment with paper-thin walls and a view of nothing. Was this always the plan? Or did I just get lucky being the one left behind?